Somewhere between the coast of Florida, the islands of Bermuda, and the shores of Puerto Rico lies an expanse of ocean whispered about for generations. A place where ships vanish without a trace, where planes fly into the sky and never return. The Bermuda Triangle, a stretch of sea that has swallowed more than 1,000 lives, leaving behind only questions and legends. The term Bermuda Triangle first appeared in the 1960s, but strange disappearances in the region had been reported long before that. Sailors in the 19th century spoke of erratic compasses, ghostly lights, and sudden storms that seemed to appear from nowhere. Even Christopher Columbus, during his voyage in 1492, noted that his compass began acting strangely as he crossed this very area. But is this mysterious triangle truly cursed? Or just misunderstood? As the sun glistens over turquoise waters and cruise ships pass peacefully each day, the question lingers: how did this part of the Atlantic become one of the most feared and studied places on Earth? Our story begins in 1945, the day 5 U.S. Navy bombers vanished into thin air. Sound, propeller engines, static radio chatter, then silence. Flight 19. 5 Avenger torpedo bombers took off from Fort Lauderdale for a routine training mission. The weather was clear, the pilots were experienced, and the mission should have lasted only a few hours. But radio transmissions soon turned frantic. One pilot reported his compass spinning uncontrollably. Another said the ocean didn't look right, as if land and sea were blending together. Then nothing. All 5 planes disappeared. No wreckage. No survivors. When a rescue plane was sent to search for them, that plane too vanished, with 13 crew members aboard. In just one day, 27 men were gone. The world was stunned. The press exploded with headlines about a cursed triangle. But as the U.S. Navy investigated, they could find no clear explanation. The phrase "lost at sea" was all that remained. Flight 19 marked the beginning of modern obsession with the Bermuda Triangle, and it wouldn't be the last mystery. By the late 1940s and 1950s, the legend of the Bermuda Triangle grew with each new disappearance. Passenger planes, cargo ships, and private yachts would vanish seemingly without distress calls. In 1948, a British South American Airways plane carrying 31 people disappeared between Bermuda and Jamaica. The pilot sent a final message: "All is well." Then radio silence. Months of searching turned up nothing, not even floating debris. The following year, another plane from the same airline vanished along nearly the same route. Again no trace. Reporters began calling the region the Devil's Triangle. The media fed public imagination with theories: magnetic anomalies, methane gas bubbles, rogue waves, even time warps and extraterrestrial abductions. Each idea seemed wilder than the last, but the mystery refused to die. Behind the sensational headlines, real scientists tried to make sense of it. Meteorologists pointed to unpredictable weather patterns and sudden storms common in that region. Oceanographers studied the Gulf Stream, a powerful current capable of sweeping wreckage far from its origin within hours. Still, something didn't add up. Why were so many disappearances concentrated in this specific area? By the 1960s, the Bermuda Triangle had become a cultural phenomenon. Books like The Bermuda Triangle Mystery, solved by Larry Kuesch, and The Bermuda Triangle by Charles Berlitz turned the story into legend. Berlitz's books sold millions, captivating readers with tales of lost civilizations, Atlantis, and underwater energy fields. But Kuesch, a skeptical researcher, found that many of the so-called mysteries had rational explanations: navigational errors, mechanical failures, or simply exaggerated reports. According to him, the triangle's reputation was more myth than fact. And yet, the disappearances kept happening. Even the skeptics couldn't deny that dozens of ships and planes had vanished, often without distress calls, often in clear weather. By now, the Bermuda Triangle was no longer just a story. It was a symbol of human fear of the unknown. The 1970s and 1980s were the golden age of the Bermuda Triangle in pop culture. Television specials, documentaries, and novels portrayed it as a doorway to another world. Filmmakers recreated the final moments of Flight 19, showing pilots lost in glowing clouds or flying into mysterious lights. The public was hooked. Tourists began visiting Bermuda and Florida not just for the beaches, but for the mystery. Local businesses even started marketing Bermuda Triangle tours. It was tourism meets terror, a paradox of fascination and fear. But for families who had lost loved ones in the Triangle, it wasn't entertainment. It was heartbreak without closure. In 1963, the Marine Sulphur Queen, a 524-foot tanker carrying molten sulfur, disappeared with 39 men aboard. Investigators found only a few pieces of debris. There were no distress calls. The ship's last known position, right in the Bermuda Triangle. The Coast Guard called it unknown causes. Each new disappearance brought renewed media frenzy. More books, more theories, more speculation. The myth grew larger than the evidence itself. Psychologists began to study why humans are drawn to such mysteries. Many concluded that the Bermuda Triangle was less about geography and more about psychology, a reflection of our need to explain chaos, to find meaning in tragedy. The unknown terrifies us, but it also fascinates us. And as long as people vanished without explanation, the legend would endure. By the 1990s, scientific research began to cut through the fog of myth. Meteorologists showed that the Bermuda Triangle is one of the most unpredictable regions on Earth. Powerful storms can form in minutes. Sudden downdrafts can force planes into the sea. The warm waters fuel hurricanes that shift direction rapidly, confusing even experienced pilots. Ocean scientists mapped the seabed and discovered underwater trenches deeper than Mount Everest is tall. A ship sinking in one of those trenches could disappear completely. There were also reports of massive methane hydrate deposits on the ocean floor, frozen gas that, when released, can reduce water density and cause ships to lose buoyancy almost instantly. Though debated, the theory offered one possible scientific explanation. And then there's human error, responsible for more disappearances than any mysterious force could be. Navigational mistakes, outdated equipment, and overconfidence often led pilots and captains into deadly conditions. Still, believers weren't satisfied. They pointed to unexplained anomalies, compass malfunctions, sudden white fogs, and disappearances of modern aircraft equipped with advanced navigation systems. Science could explain much, but not everything. That gap, between what we know and what we don't, is where the legend of the Bermuda Triangle continues to thrive. In the early 2000s, new technology allowed researchers to re-examine many of the Triangle's most famous disappearances. Using GPS data, flight records, and weather archives, they found inconsistencies in earlier reports. Many mysteries weren't as mysterious as once believed. Flight 19, for instance, may have simply become lost after a navigational miscalculation. Poor radio reception, failing fuel, and nightfall led to tragedy. The rescue plane that vanished afterward was later found to have likely exploded due to a fuel leak. The myth of the Bermuda Triangle, it turned out, was built on layers of misunderstanding and sensational storytelling. Yet, even as evidence pointed to natural explanations, the legend refused to die. Documentaries kept retelling the stories, each adding a touch of drama, each bending the line between fact and fiction. To this day, people report strange experiences: compasses drifting, radar interference, feelings of unease. Whether psychological or physical, those sensations keep the mystery alive. The Bermuda Triangle is not just a place on the map, it's an idea, a reminder of how fragile human certainty can be when faced with nature's vastness. Today, thousands of ships and planes cross the Bermuda Triangle every year without incident. It is one of the most heavily traveled regions in the world. Commercial airlines, cargo routes, and cruise ships navigate it daily, safely. So why does the legend still endure? Because mysteries like this remind us that not everything can be neatly explained. The Bermuda Triangle represents the intersection of science, superstition, and the human imagination. For some, it's proof of the unknown. For others, a cautionary tale about how easily myths can take root when fear and fascination collide. The story of the triangle is, in many ways, the story of ourselves, our endless search for meaning in chaos. Soft music fades in, a gentle piano under ocean waves. Narrator: oh, perhaps the real mystery isn't what's hidden beneath the waves, but why we continue to look for monsters in the deep. Because every legend begins with truth, and ends with belief. Sound. Ocean fades into silence.